Hi everyone, so I am back today to go over Sector 3 of this Conquest series. Again, this is the Conquest series we are playing to unlock the exiled Ezra Bridger in roughly 3 months' time. So we're going to go through all of the feats in this sector, in particular, Sector 3. So before I hop into that though, as usual, I do want to say thank you so much to my Patrons. I really do appreciate your support. It doesn't go unnoticed, so appreciate it. All right, let's look at these Sector 3 feats. They are not too bad. There's going to be opportunities to cheese some of this, depending on how you want to get it done, if you care about getting it done, but it's honestly not too bad. So gaining evasion up 50 times. This is going to be relatively quickly, done relatively quickly, depending on obviously your squad setup and how you're going to go through the sector, whether you're going to be going actively working on it or going back and cleaning up on a datacron node, etc. But it's honestly not going to be too bad. Win 15 battles with Nightsister Acolyte surviving. So you could go about this two ways, whether you want a full Nightsister squad and like reviving her, or if you want to just drag her along on your squad. If you have a really weak Acolyte, for example, and you don't care about that. Gain Retaliate 15 times. You can only do this with the Gungan phalanx, whatever you want to call them. That is the only character that has it. This is a feat I would recommend coming back to, honestly, after you get the deployable cooling systems consumable, because you'll be able to cheese it a little bit faster that way. But if you don't care about that, then you can grind it out. And then winning 15 battles with a full squad of Geonosians. There's really nothing to explain there. All right. So let's go in and have a look at some of the gameplay. We'll go over what teams I'm using and why and the discs, etc. And yeah, that'll be that for Sector 3. All right, so I want to start with Evasion Up 50 times. And the first squad I'm going to show you is probably one of my favorites to get Evasion Up with. So it is going to be your standard Bad Batch squad. I do go in with Omega as my fifth. If you don't have her, she does not give evasion up on this squad at all. So you can sub in a different character there if you wanted to. Essentially, though, you get two characters on the squad that have an AoE evasion up. So all 5 of your characters would get it as long as it's applied. They're not buff immune or anything like that. So the first one is on Echo. He's got it on his second special. Everybody gets it. And you can see here that my Wrecker is buff immune. So he's not going to get it in this case. So we're going to get 4. And then Hunter's AoE also has an AoE evasion up on everyone. If you were to get him to take a turn, he would also have it as well. So you can get it with 2 characters pretty quickly using that squad in particular, working your way towards the 50 total that are needed for this feat in particular. But then you also have another squad that's going to work really well for evasion up as well. It doesn't necessarily have to be this one, but Han Solo has an AoE evasion up on him as well, his little shoulder shrug special move. So I like to go in with a typical CLS Rebel squad, but you can go in with any squad that you want to throw Han on, and he's going to give evasion up as long as he does that shoulder shrug to all of his allies. So again, really, I mean, it's self-explanatory. You're going in with your CLS squad. You're going to make your way through the sector this way. And then as long as you do get Han to do the shoulder shrug, provided you don't have any buff immunity, same idea as the Bad Batch, then you're going to get the AoE evasion up on all of your allies that way and make your way through that way, which is a little bit nicer. And it makes it just a little bit easier here. So make your way through the sector while you're also working on this feat at the same time, especially when it comes to the mini boss and the boss, which I will show you a little bit later on. But those are the 2 teams that I like to use for evasion up, in particular Han and Bad Batch. All right, so then the next feat I want to look at here is really, honestly, self-explanatory. Full squad of Geos. There's no way, around this or to cheese it. You got to do it 15 times, and it has to be Geos. I do like to go when I'm using Geonosians in Conquest against a squad that doesn't have an AoE, just because it makes me a little bit nervous. So I figured I would try it against this General Kenobi-led Jedi team. It isn't necessarily the cleanest, but it does work. You just need to get the win, which is really what matters. In this case, I'm using a Volatile Accelerator disc, 3 Amplify Agony and 1 Weak Spot disc equipped. And honestly, like I said, you're just going through trying to get the kill in as quickly as possible, provided you don't get stun locked. And then as well, because it is Geos, you're able to work on the global Stagger feat as well, provided that you are landing Stagger at the same time. And like I said, not clean, but you really just need to get the win there for it to count. All right, so the next feat here is having Acolyte survive. So I am going to show you just one squad. I am going to show you just a straight up Nightsisters squad, and evidence discs have not changed. We're still doing the Volatile Accelerator, Weak Spot, which I really do like, by the way, and Amplify Agony. And then I'm going to go in with a straight Nightsister squad, just so that I can double dip towards that global Nightsister feat at the same time. So I'm taking out Marin in this squad that I would normally have her there and putting in Acolyte instead. And then that way here, we're able to revive Acolyte with Daka if needed. I like Talzin lead because she's also able to revive with her leadership if anyone happens to die off. And you're really just going through and killing off the enemies with plague and dots in this case. The main thing to keep in mind is because we don't have Zealous Ambition in this Conquest series, it means that the sisters are going to take a little bit longer to chew through the nodes, and it is a little bit, I don't want to say like scarier or clenchier, but it looks dicier than it is. So the key, though, to sisters is to have a thick Daka. So if you can get a lot of health on her and make sure she survives, then you can just keep reviving your squad. And as long as you've got Acolyte there at the end, then you're going to get credit. And then obviously you can also just throw Acolyte on a squad and drag her along as the 5th if you wanted to, as long as she survives. Okay. Let's now have a look here at this Retaliate. So like I said, this is on your Gungans and it is only on Phalange. It is a single target Retaliate, so buff, whatever you want to call it, which means only Phalange is going to get it. It is kind of annoying. So basically, no matter what happens, at least for now, because we're not cheesing it at the moment, you can only get it on once, pretty much per battle, unless you really, really want to drag it out. Okay. I am going to go in, though, with the full Gungan team here, just so that I get credit towards having a full Gungan. Not full Gungans, at least 4 Gungans on my squad for that feat. But what I would probably do once I actually do care about this feat and want to get it done is I would wait until I have the deployable cooling systems consumable, because that will make this go a lot faster, which is basically just reducing your cooldowns. Every time you apply buffs to the squad, you have a chance to reduce cooldowns that way. So you will take in like a hodgepodge team there that most likely involves Hermit Yoda, a lot of buffs being spread around so that you can get Phalange to take as many turns as possible and pump out that Retaliate as much as possible. And again, I would wait until I have DCS available to do that, and then time out so that you don't waste the consumable and can use it for other feats later on. So just keep that in the back of your mind for later. Otherwise, you're doing this one at a time. All right, and now we're going to look at the mini boss. So you need to win with Morgan Elsbeth surviving and win with Captain Enoch on your squad. You can arguably do this in one fight since they're totally different. Enoch can die off. Morgan Elsbeth just needs to win or needs to survive when you win. I chose not to do it in one fight. I wanted to be really particular with how I was using my energy and make sure I wasn't wasting any battles. So I did do it with Bamhan, Chewie, Dash, and Morgan for the first fight. Again, using Volatile Accelerator, Amplify Agony, and Weak Spot equipped. So the discs haven't changed at all. And you're just going to go in, feed yourself turn meter. This is also going to get you Evasion Up if you get Han to do his little shoulder shrug. And then you're just basically going through the enemies typically don't get to take a turn. And Morgan just sits there and looks like herself. And you get the credit for her surviving on the team. And then the other part of this mini boss is to win with Captain Enoch on your squad. So you don't necessarily need to have him survive. He just needs to get dragged along. So you could do the same squad, Bam Han Chewie, if you wanted. I chose to show a different team just so that if you don't have the Volatile Accelerator build, you don't necessarily have to worry about it. So one that's going to work really well in this case is a Reva lead, Inquisitors, and then you just take Enoch in as your fifth. Because of her leadership, you're going to be able to have stacks of Purge out right away. Since you're putting out debuffs, the Amplify Agony is going to kick in and do some damage right away. And then Grand Inquisitor, fifth brother, and eighth brother all have AoEs, so you can just kind of AoE the squad to death while Enoch hangs out there. And that's pretty much all there is to it. It's nothing too fancy. And you can see they just kind of die off to dots and sadness, and you get credit for having Enoch there. So you could do the same thing with Morgan, arguably, as well, if you don't have the Bam Han Chewie squad. All right, so let's look at the boss. This one you do have to do twice because we need Queenie to survive and then no support units, and she is a support unit, so you can't double dip here, unfortunately. They are going to be gaining stacks of decay and all of that fun stuff since it is an Enoch squad, which means you're most likely going to have to chew through the troopers a few times because of the decay kicking in with Enoch's leadership. They're just going to come back every time you get them down to 1% health. They're going to keep getting their health and protection back. So that being said, the first squad I'm going to take in is the Bam Han Chewie. Again, we're going to be able to get some evasion up this way. I was hoping if we could get around with some crits, then maybe that would work a little bit nicer in our favor. However, what actually worked out really well here in general is you can kind of just keep the troopers stun locked in a way, even with them gaining decay and coming back and getting like additional lives and you having to kill them over and over and over again, which is absolutely irritating. Because we can remove the turn meter and we can kind of just keep them stunned. I wasn't worried really about them taking any turns or doing any damage. The likelihood, if you have Queenie, by the way, is that you probably have a decent amount of gear on her, I would think. So her surviving is going to be a little bit easier than, say, a 3-star Marquis that's sitting at gear 7, for example. But that's the one feat there with her surviving. I think it's pretty self-explanatory. And then you're going to go back in because, again, she is a support character, so we do need to go in with a squad that doesn't have any support on it. So any squad, really, that you can put together that doesn't have support is going to work. I chose to go ahead and use a Jedi squad. I wanted something that would allow me to keep stuns going in. I thought that worked pretty well, so I figured that would be easiest to have control in this scenario. And then that way we could just go in. Again, no supports, plow through the troopers as quickly as we possibly can, and get the win. So given the squad that I picked, we're not really double dipping anything here at all, to be honest. You could, if you wanted, sub out Cam for, say, Moff Qui-Gon or Master Qui-Gon. And that way you could double dip towards that global feat by having him survive on your squad. But really, I just wanted to get through as quickly as possible. I didn't really care about double dipping and just wanted to get the feat without having supports there that way. Otherwise, though, it's pretty self-explanatory and straightforward. You're just going through the exact same idea, keeping them stunned, killing them as quickly as possible, and having to kill them over and over again because of that lovely decay mechanic from Enoch's leadership. So that is the boss. All right, everyone. So that is Sector 3. We are through it. It's not too bad. I think it's honestly a lot of this is going to be going back, like I said earlier, with deployable cooling systems for some of the feats, but it's pretty clean cut, in my opinion, on how to get through it. And it's not too grindy, which is the good thing. So hopefully this was helpful. If you are using anything else that's different, I would love to hear about it. I know some other people would love to hear about it too. If you're having any troubles, definitely feel free to hop in the H&N Discord server because there are a bunch of us there that love Conquest and love helping with Conquest. So that link is below. Otherwise, I will see you tomorrow for Sector 4.